Hello again, welcome to the second part of our DIY macros session. To help you create your own macros, I've got some ideas here. I'm not quite sure how helpful they'll be, but it's worth a try. Certainly the idea of how to learn to program I think is probably sensible. There are reference books, but really the best way I think to learn is to actually do it. So you need to have something that you actually want to do with a macro, and then look around and pinch someone else's code, bits of code, to do the things you're trying to do. And I would say feel free to pinch the code that's available in my book. Won't do me any harm. So my learning idea today, which I say I'm not entirely sure how much it will help, is for you to look through the shorter macros in my book. So the idea is try and see what each of those short macros does by reading the code, and then you've got, of course, the instructions in the book, so you can go and have a look at those and see how they compare with your ideas of what it should do. It might help, but certainly can't do any harm, as I say. Okay, last time the process that we used was having either a selection of the text or going through the whole text and looking through every paragraph or sentence or word, and then making a decision, well, if such and such is there, then do such so and so. So that's the sort of the looping process that we used last time, and the process today is that we're actually going to look through the text for something specific, some specific piece of text. And again, same idea. If we find something, then we decide what to do with it. We look at it and we compare what's going on around it and make some decisions. So what I thought I'd do today is create a macro that will enable you to do what I suggested earlier, to look through the macros file to find shorter macros. So that's our task, to create a macro to enable you to find the shorter macros rather than just scrolling through looking for them. Then we can run a macro to find them. And it's what I call a find and do process. And so if we look at the basic process, what we're doing is we're doing a word search, just words, normal find and replace thing, for some particular target, some bit of text, and then we have let's look at it all there. We have a loop, so loop start and loop end, and then give up when finished. And what the loop says is if you find a word, if the word search finds something, then do the following. Or what's the following? The following is to, whatever you're trying to do, check something, change something, and then we search for the target again, and then you get to the end of the loop and it goes back to the beginning of the loop. And if that search there did not find anything, and if we got right down to the bottom and there aren't any more, it'll drop out of the loop and it will give up, so to speak. Okay, in my book you'll find that there are two versions. I produced a sort of shell to do this process, find and do range. We looked briefly last time at ranges and selections. So let's have a look at the find and do shell, which I call it. So within this, what you're going to do is set up a selection, set up a find. In this case, it's looking for the word for, F-O-R, but this is just how it happens to be left over from last time. So then the loop starts with do while, so it's saying do the following while you have found something, while selection.find.found is true. So if you've found something, come into here and do these things, and then go around again. So What are we doing? Well, it doesn't matter what we're doing. That's not at issue. I put in there the line which so you can put a count in. So there's you start the counter at 0, and then each time you do enter this loop and find something, then you notch up one more on your counter, and then at the very end, you can print out a message saying, you found so many things. So the only other thing that of interest that I do here is to find where the selection end is. In other words, suppose it finds the word for, F-O-R, then you've got the selection start and selection end will be 3 characters apart, and so selection end is the point in the whole document where the cursor is sitting at the end of that selection is. So you remember that by putting it into the end now variable, and then when you're ready, you've done various things, when you're ready to go again, you move the selection end to your end now, and then we say collapse the selection. In other words, if there's something selected, we move the end to end now, and then we collapse the selection. In other words, bring the selection to just a cursor sitting at the end there, and then we do another execute of the find. In other words, look from there and see if we can find the next one. So that's doing it with selections, and then there's a version here which does it with ranges. And okay, at the beginning there it's set up to select the whole of the document, but you can change that to select a part of the document you want to work on. Same sort of ideas, exactly the same sort of thing, executing at the end. So those are the basic shells. And just to say that, why do I use range sometimes? Why do I use find and do sometimes? Range tends to be faster because if you're using selection, it has to redisplay the screen all the time. We did see an example of that last time. If you're using selection, it's sometimes easier to program, sort of moving the end of a selection, and you can actually see on screen, if you step through the program, you can see it happening because the selection is expanding and contracting and whatever you're doing, and you're typing in something. So selection is sometimes easier to program because you can see it step by step. Okay, so finally, if I just show you the macro that I wrote so that you can look through the document, through the macros document. So here's what it looks like at the beginning of the document there. So let's find DIY, and it's find short macro. So okay, so here's our find a short macro. So mylen is just the length of the macro that it's looking for in terms of the number of lines, and then we set up a range for the whole document. However, we then look to see where is the cursor at the moment, where is the selection start, and record that, and then set the start of the range to the start of the selection. In other words, start from the cursor and search down from there to the end of the document. So there's our search. We can check the this is a wildcard, so we've got wildcard set as true. This is a wildcard find, so let's just see what it does, just make sure it works. So this is whenever I'm developing a wildcard find, this is what I do. I paste it into the document that I'm looking for, and then you'll have come across instant find down. So if I click in there and do instant find down, it finds the next and successive occurrences of that word that I was in. So what I'm going to do is use instant find down wild. So that's the same sort of idea, but it sets the wildcard tag true, so it does a wildcard search. So if I run the macro, okay, what's it done? Well, what was it supposed to do? It was supposed to look for a carriage return, and because it's wildcard, we have to use caret 13 rather than caret p. Then the word sub, in other words the beginning of a subroutine, then star, which means any bit of text, and then these are looking for the brackets. You can't just use bracket because that has a special meaning in a wildcard, so you have to do backslash bracket to look for an open bracket and backslash close bracket to look for the close. So that's what it's doing, and that's what it's done. It's found the beginning of a macro, so it goes through and finds the beginnings of each of the macros. Okay, so then the macro, it looks for that, and then it moves the end of the range. Here's the range.moveEnd. It moves the end of it down by a number of paragraphs. How many? Well, mylen was 20, so it moves the end of the selection, the end of the range down 20 lines, 20 paragraphs. And then it says in that range, in the text that we've got in our range there, does the word end sub, or the two words end sub, does that appear? If it does, then we found a short, we found, between sub and end sub, we found a short macro. So select it, range.select, and then collapse to the end of it, and these two lines moving down by 20 lines and moving up by 20 lines simply just centers the display on the screen for me. And then it says, is this what you want? Do you fancy this macro? And if it is, if you say yes, then it will drop out of the macro. If you say no, then it will go and it will have another look for the next one. So let's just try it, and then you'll be ready to have a go. So where's my macros? Here they are. So, well, start from where the macro is, sorry, where the cursor is, and we can run the macro just by clicking on here. So it finds another one. Oh, it found one very quickly. So that's a short macro. No, I don't fancy that one. No, I don't fancy that one. Yes, I fancy that one. So in other words, oh look, this is a for each sentence in sentences, do something. So that was highlighting long sentences. That's a coincidence. Anyway, right, I think that's about it for now. So, any problems, give me a shout. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.